Hey, good morning, Dara. Hope you're doing well. I saw that you had a question on this problem on your homework, and so I thought it'd be a little easier if I shot you a video and went through the steps as opposed to writing out all the steps in an email. I think this may be a little bit easier. So let's go about, get started and see if we can figure out how to find the inverse of this function. So the first thing that we want to do when we're trying to find the inverse of any function is switch the x's and the y's. So f of x is just a really fancy way of saying y, so let's start by substituting the y in there, and then everywhere I see an x, I'm going to put a y, and everywhere I see a y, I'm going to put an x, so we end up with that right there. And now the hard part. We've got to figure out how to solve this equation for y, so that instead of x equals, it's y equals. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of that denominator by multiplying both sides of this equation by 7y plus 2. And if I distribute over here, I get 7xy plus 2x. And over here, the 7y plus 2's cancel out. And we're left with 4y minus 5. At this point in time, I want to get everything that has a y in it on one side and everything that doesn't have a y in it on the other. So I've got to move this 4y to the left, and I've got to move this 2x to the right. So I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides, and at the same time, I'm going to subtract 4y from both sides. And so we get 7xy minus 4y equals negative 2x minus 5. And now, since all of these terms on the left have a y in them, I'm going to factor that y out. And I get that. And now it's just simply a matter of dividing both sides by 7x minus 4. And so the inverse is equal to negative 2x minus 5 over 7x minus 4. Okay, so there's the inverse. There's the original function. Now let's see if we can find the domains and the ranges for these two functions. So one of the things that restricts a domain of a function is denominators and values of x that make the denominator equal to 0. I can't have a 0 in the denominator, so what I want to do is I want to figure out what makes this denominator equal to 0. So I'm just going to set that denominator equal to 0, subtract 2 from both sides, and then divide by 7. And so x can't equal negative 2/7 because that would make our denominator equal to 0. So the domain of this function is all real numbers except negative 2/7. And now I want to do the same thing over here. See what makes that denominator equal to 0. Add 4 to both sides. Divide by 7. So x can't equal 4/7. So the domain of this function is all real numbers except 4/7. Now, once you get the domains of the function and the inverse, the ranges are easy because the range of this function is the domain of its inverse. So the range of our original function is all real numbers except 4/7. And the same thing holds true here. The range of the inverse is the same as the domain of the original function, so our range here would be all real numbers except for negative 2/7. So I hope that makes sense to you. If it doesn't, please don't hesitate to shoot me an email, and I'll be glad to explain it further. So hope you have a great day. Take care.